Hey, what's up, man?
What's up? Where do I know you from?
I'm
Any
not
idea?
really sure. You look familiar too.
Yeah.
For everyone who doesn't know, this is my brother, Ryan LaBee. He's a filmmaker, videographer, photographer, writer. I mean, you name it, this guy does it. So,
Uh, I tinker with it, I suppose.
nah, you got great stuff, man. So, uh, I'd say more right now you're focusing on writing, probably, is what you're kind of. But as far as like everything you do, what would you say is kind of the main thing that you focus on?
Well, I don't know. I don't really think of it like that. I do photos pretty much every day, no matter what. So, I mean, in some aspects, I guess photography I do daily, always taking photos. But for me, that one's more of like a almost like a meditative thing or something. I don't know. I'm real at ease, or it puts me at ease when I'm taking photos. But the thing that I'm like concentrating the most on, like actively pursuing as an art form of some sort, is probably writing. But I would throw video stuff in there with that as well.
Yeah,
So
we were talking about that the other day that they kind of like for you anyways, they kind of go hand in hand. Like you love making videos and everything, but also really it's the writing process that you enjoy doing it, telling a story, whether that be funny or serious.
yeah, no, definitely. Writing, it's never easy for me. I always have to kind of struggle with actually sitting down and doing it, but it's the thing that I get the most joy out of. Even like I said, even when it's video stuff, like I made this, you know, I don't know what you would call it, I guess documentary or video essay, like this little mini video essay last semester for a class. And I mean, it started as a writing, like we were in class and we did a free write for I don't know, 15-20 minutes, and then that free write just ballooned into like a little essay, and then I turned that essay into a video essay where I basically narrate what I wrote to visuals that I shot. So
That's amazing.
yeah, yeah.
What do you got going on right now as far as projects and like what are you working on currently?
Um, I mean, I'm a school full time. Like anyone who doesn't know me, I spent 10 years in the military, and just within the last 2 or 3 years, I started going to school full time to pursue a degree in creative writing, and I want to teach at some level. I don't know what. I'll probably have to go back and do some kind of classes to be a teacher, but that's my end goal. So a lot of the stuff that I've been working on lately has been like short stories, for specifically starting out as like projects for class that balloon up into like short stories that I've been submitting to publishers and stuff. Nothing published yet, but that's what I've been doing.
That's amazing. Like, so obviously I know since we're brothers, I
I
know.
don't know you.
Yeah, who are you? No, I know
Yeah.
like all these answers, but so if some of these questions seem kind of, you know, out there, that just for people who don't know, uh, as of right now, like, what would you? Basically, the whole idea of like like this vodcast, I guess is what you'd call it, or whatever
Ooh,
you
did you
want.
come up with that, or is that a thing?
I don't know. I think it's a thing. I
Oh,
think.
I was gonna say that's nice. I haven't heard of vodcast. There you go.
Yeah, I think it is, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's a thing. I don't want to say I did when
You're like, I made it up.
I came up with that off the cusp. No, but as far as this is like I'm just trying to get local people in the fine arts connected with each other. Obviously, mostly music is what I focus on just because that's what I'm familiar with. But as of right now, what are some services do you feel like you offer that people could do? Like what are, photography, videography, like what are things you can do that people could come to you for? You get what I'm saying?
I think, well, I mean, all of them. If someone needs photography, I don't think there's a style of photography I can't do. And I know that sounds maybe jaded, but I literally probably the last 4 years take handfuls of photos every single day. I'm always creating something. So if people needed photography for anything, product photography, um, uh, like what's it? I just blanked out. What is it called when you take photos of like buildings? What is that? That's land.
Like landscape or something? I don't
Well,
know.
anyways, I'm sounding stupid, but you know what I mean.
No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. but anyways, I can take photos of pretty much anything. I've had experience copywriting. Um, yeah, stuff like that. Videography, obviously. I do a lot of video editing work. You can find some of my stuff online, on Vimeo, on YouTube.
And for
Vimeo has more
everyone
of.
watching, I'll put links in the description of all of his
Oh, thank
places
you.
you can find him. Which, just so I know ahead of time, what are some of the main social media sites that you use? People can find you on. Like, what are the ones that you would respond to most, and everything like that?
Well, I think if you want an idea of the type of photography I do, it would be Instagram, which you can find me at _that_Ryan on Instagram. And then Vimeo is a good place to go if you want to see some of my more professional like video work. I've done a few things for McDonald's. I did a few things for the Sac and Fox Nation out of Oklahoma. Um, I've done, just little things. They weren't massive, but little product placements and stuff like that. And then YouTube, you can find more of my like experimental type weird narrative stuff, uh if you want.
The artsy
So
stuff, the good stuff.
yeah, I guess. I mean, there's some like horror shorts and some just really weird stuff that you might see like, I don't know what this is supposed to be about. Hey, that's okay, you can still check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone who's listening, that obviously I have a lot of like the people who probably do listen to me are musicians. So
Hmm.
if you're looking for a photographer to do your band photos, or even probably a music video or something, he can do it. He can do any of
Yep.
that stuff. So
Yeah, if
um
you're looking for a guy.
if you're looking for a guy, so hey dude,
I know.
I know a guy. What um I actually don't think I even know this. What is like some of the big things that inspired you to start? Obviously, from my perspective looking in, it seems like you started with videos. Like,
Hmm.
what got you into that?
Well, I think, I mean, I don't know how biographical you want to get on this, but like, I don't know. This is something I kind of think about a lot. I used to say I fell in love with movies and that's where it started, but the more I've thought about it, I don't know that that's actually true. We come from a family, you know this, but I'll say it for
Yeah,
people who don't know. We come from a family who have a lot of storytellers, and a lot of them can come from anything, like forms of just our grandparents standing around a table and telling stories to make each other laugh. Like I remember that as a kid and really being drawn to the adults in the room and like listening to them just tell stories. Even our dad was a really good storyteller. I mean, they were usually pretty, I don't know, like maybe dark and depressing, but he would tell
yeah,
stories. He could be funny too. Not often was he funny though. And and then like on mom's side, our uncles, man, oh man, there are some funny people. And
yeah,
I just always remember people getting together and telling stories. And then mom used to read to us a lot. So I've always had like storytelling type stuff in my life, but one of my earliest memories is going to the movies. So, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so we couldn't go places. So
no,
our vacation was kind of going to the movies. Like every once in a while, mom would save some money and take us to go see something. And one of my earliest was Jurassic Park. And I remember that movie just kind of wrinkling my brain. Like, yeah, I was like, whoa,
the
what is
big,
this?
yeah, the big mechanical T-Rex. I
Mm-hmm.
read somewhere that the guy inside of it almost got chopped in half or something like that, because
I
it's
thought
like,
I think I saw something like that. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, dude, no way.
Cringe.
I wouldn't go inside
Yeah.
that. Um,
No.
so that's awesome. So that's where you kind of got your love for it. But actually, let me go back further. So growing
Okay.
up, obviously, growing up, being your little brother and everything, I say you started with video, but that's actually not true. If I think back, you started with drawing, because I used to come into your
No, that's
room and
true.
I'd come into your room and you'd have just drawings all over the place. And would so it seems like you're really just, drawn to fine art in general. Like you even did music for a while. So,
Pretty much. Oh man, I was never good at music though.
but
I'm a
you did play
consumer and
guitar a
lover of
little bit.
music. I mean, that's being generous. I held a guitar. You're right. I bought a guitar and I held it, and I think I could strum it, but that's about it.
You had
I
some
started.
chords you could play.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, smoke on the water. We could all do that. But I did try to take piano lessons once as a kid. Mom kind of threw those on me, and
Who was that
it
with
didn't work
again?
out.
I forget. You don't have to say,
No,
but
it was
you don't have to say
it
the
was
name, but
well, it's funny. Like most of my stories as a child that ended up horrific, they involve some sort of like church affiliated thing. It
Oh,
was
I already know who it is. I already
yeah,
know.
it was
I
a
already know.
pastor's
Yeah.
the pastor's wife. Yeah,
Yeah.
and she was teaching us, and it was not a pleasant experience.
She was
And
really mean from what I
yeah,
remember.
yeah, she was. I begged mom not to make me go back. I was like, please don't make me go. I don't want to go. I don't even
That's
like the piano.
I
Yeah.
want to play something like guitar. No, just kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess I have always been doing something. I didn't even think about the art thing because yeah, I've been drawing as far back as I can remember, but I don't know. I never got better. It's like I stopped at a place and I just didn't progress. So I'll put it away, and then sometimes I'll get in a mood and I'll be like, hey, maybe I'll doodle something, and then I'll get
You
stuff out
have
and draw.
really good potential to be amazing at drawing and stuff. I just feel like your attention went to other things instead.
I
Like it
don't love
wasn't.
it. The thing I've learned the older I've gotten is it's with all the things that I've tried. If you're not obsessed with it, you're not going to get better with it.
Yeah.
And you know that music, like it's one of those things. Like if I don't take photos, or I don't write, or I don't make some sort of video thing, like I get bothered. Like I get really in my own head. It's almost like therapy for me. I have to do those things. Drawing, like I didn't even think of it when you said it. Like, and then you said it, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I draw. Like I'm not in love with it, and I think you
Right.
need to be in love with it.
That's true. Like, dude, there's times, and I'm sure you feel this way too. There's times where I go through like these spurts of where like, I'll record a ton and then I'll fall off the wagon for like a couple days or something, and I won't record or write something, and I'm just like, man, I'm a piece of shit. Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah, no, all the time. Or like, it's like you and I. Like, I don't play a lot of video games, but like you guys got me a video game for my birthday so that I could play with you guys, and I've been playing it. And pretty much every time I sit down to play it, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is a total waste of my time. I could be doing something else. And in reality, it's a good thing to probably check out of the things you're obsessed with, to give yourself
Yeah,
some space. It's probably healthy. But for whatever reason, if I'm not doing them, I beat myself up about it.
I do
So
too. And like, I'll plan ahead. I'm like, okay, I got a free day that day. I could do this and this, and it's like, nah, I should probably just write something. Like, and I end up
mhm.
doing that. So it's like any free time I have, I end up doing that, because it's like, what's the point? Like, if I don't,
Yeah,
when am I going to do it? And if I don't do it, then I just feel like bad about myself.
100%. Yeah. And I think that, and I'm not saying this about myself, it'll sound like I'm patting myself on the back or something, but I think, again, I'm not saying I'm great, but I think what separates people that are great at a thing and people who are good at a thing are the obsessiveness. That thing that makes you feel like a piece of shit for not doing it is what makes you great. And if you don't have it, I don't think you'll ever be great in that thing. You might have natural talent in something, but you'll never be great.
Yeah. And I also think that like, you have to have that, like, that I don't want to say this to where it sounds like, oh yeah, you should feel like crap about yourself, because you shouldn't. But whenever you do have something like that, that's like eating at the back of your mind, telling you like, hey, you've got to do this. You're not doing good. You got to keep going. Like, I have to be better than that. Then that makes you better, or else you would just plateau, I feel like.
100%. I mean, it's probably to some degree is not healthy. I imagine.
Right.
I'm sure if you talk to therapists, it's like you could probably ease up on the negative self-talk. Like, just be happy with what you're doing. But I do think, like, I haven't seen the whole documentary, but there's this documentary out right now. It's like a 8 or 10 piece documentary about I think it's the 95 season Chicago Bulls, but it's mainly about Michael Jordan. And if you watch that documentary, you quickly learn why he is the greatest basketball player ever. Like, he's obsessed
Really.
and he expects a certain amount out of himself. And even when he's the greatest, he always thinks he could have done better, or he gets pissed off for anyone who holds him back for not letting him be better. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's what separates people who are really good at something, or great and really good. And again, I don't know if it's healthy or not, but I think there's a reason why people aspire to those people. Like, you don't want to be an asshole and you don't want to be obsessive probably, but you know there's something to be said about people who are so driven in a specific field of art of any kind. that's, I don't know, it's kind of mythological, or I don't know. I've always been drawn to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I think that it's good to have that, but, um, there's like you say that about like Michael Jordan, that's why he's the best and all that, and it's true. But like, and even on like smaller points, like people like I'm nobody. Like
Hmm.
maybe locally some people know who my band is or something, but even past that, I'm nobody. But even then, I have friends that are in like other bands that I'm like, wow, they're really good, and I'm like, I love them. They're my good friends, but god damn it, I want to be better than that. Like, you know what I
No, but
mean?
I mean, I think that's healthy. I mean, as long as you don't go around saying that to people, like, man, I
No.
love you, but I'm going to be better than you. But
Yeah.
I think that's, I don't think that's unnatural. I think that's in everything. I think in every field, you want to be the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think anyone who, says that they don't feel that way, they're lying. Like,
They're
there's
lying.
no, yeah, there. It's just, you
Or,
know,
or worse, or they already think they're the best and they're
that's
shitty,
true.
and they're
Oh,
not pushing themselves. You know what I mean? Or
yeah,
they don't even have to be shitty. They might just be, they're fine. They're fine. They're very good, but they already think they're the best, and then there's no place to go from there. Do you know what I mean? If you already
yeah,
think you're the best, why are you going to ever push yourself to do better?
and exactly, and I don't even mean like the problem with things like that is it's not even so much the ability to play. Like, there's so much more to you have to have the drive to get up every day, create something, and do this and this and this to make your dreams happen, or else they just won't. Like, you know
There's
what I
also,
mean?
yeah, no, you're right.
So
I don't remember who said this, so I'm definitely stealing this from someone. But I heard someone say, um, it's a bit of a mental illness. You almost have to be deluded. You have to think you're good to a point, talented something, in order to want to pursue that thing. So you automatically already think you're better than you probably are. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
To some degree. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
maybe I'm butchering that. I remember hearing that somewhere, and I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Or for example, like stand-up comedians, if you kind of got to be a little nutty to get up on a stage and try to make a bunch of strangers laugh. And then you have to think you did sort of good to keep doing it,
yeah.
because otherwise why would you come back? Because that's a
You'd have
lot of pressure.
you'd have no incentive to come back.
Right, right. If it went
Yeah.
horribly wrong, but in reality, you're probably pretty bad. Like in the
Mhm.
grand scheme of like being a comedian, you're
Yeah.
awful. But it went okay, so you in your head, you're like, dude, I did great. I'm gonna go do that again. So, I don't know.
Dude, I'm gonna be up there on Comedy Central's Presents. No, I'm just kidding.
Premium blend. Yeah, I'm gonna send in my tapes.
Dude, I have been on the biggest Bill Burr kick
I love
ever.
him.
I do too, but like it, it's a sickness right now for me. Like I get up, like this morning I woke up and I was like, oh, I'll just lay in bed and watch some Bill Burr interviews. Like I just watched like an hour's worth of Bill Burr interviews.
Yeah. I mean,
But
you got to do those. You got to go down those tangents and just kind of do nothing. That's how you get
yeah,
interesting ideas.
you've done stand up comedy too.
I again dabbled. I've tried it. It's pretty bad. But yeah. I don't think it's. I think you and I have talked about this. It's not one of those things I would love enough to do
Yeah,
it. Like I don't sit around going like, I need to get on stage. I need to get on stage, and I don't know that I
right.
ever would. But to have done it makes me feel good, because it's like, again, it takes a level of delusion or mental illness to be like, I'm gonna get on a stage and make a bunch of people listening to me and try
Yeah,
to make them laugh.
I,
So
I
I'm
feel the
glad I've
same
done it.
way. I feel the same way about music, dude. Like I go through these like I was telling Caleb, I go through this thing where like we go to a show, right? And
Hmm.
I hate unloading and loading in and all that because I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't hate moving a shit ton of gear? But
Yeah.
like I hate doing that and all that. And then I also am like it can be a show for 5 people, dude. I am shaking nervous before I get on stage. Like I'm like, you know,
Every time.
almost every time, every single time. And then I get on stage and it all goes away and I love it. And it's like the best feeling in the world. And then after I'm done, I'm like, I'm so glad I did that, you know?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
beforehand, I dread it almost every single time.
I've read a bunch about like actors and stuff, like stage actors, not movie actors, but who have been doing it for years and they still get stage fright every opening night.
Dude, that's how I feel. And I've had people ask me, like, still, you've been doing it, because we've been a band since 2014. That's 6 years. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
you still get, it's like, yeah, dude, every time. It can be 5 people or it can be 100 people or whatever. And it's the same every time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. But like you said, after you're done with it, you're probably really happy you've done it.
Yeah. I mean, granted, there's always been a few bad shows, but, but
I
for,
mean, that's how you live and
yeah,
learn.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a question for you. In
All
your
right.
line of field, you don't have to. Matter of fact, if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to. But
Okay. I'm not answering it.
okay,
Okay.
good.
No. Okay. What is it?
What is your
What
best?
shoe size are you?
Yeah, exactly. What is your best experience in your field, and what is your worst experience? And
Your
you don't
field.
have in your field.
That's, I know it's just funny. It's like, I wouldn't say I'm in my field, but
But you
okay.
know what I mean. It's hard. I always said it that way because you do so many things. You do video, photography. You do all of those
Yeah.
things. So
What is it? What is it? What's the saying? It's like, I can't think of it. It's master of none. How does that saying go?
um,
We,
oh
why am I
man.
blanking on that?
Like
Whatever. You
I
get it.
know, yeah, it's like you can do a lot of things okay, but nothing great.
But not a lot of things great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing great. Worst experience would probably be, well, I'd probably have to think about it for a minute. I'm sure there's been a lot of bad experiences. Oh, you know what? I probably have two. I could give you two
Really?
that are wildly different. Yeah. One bad experience doing like video stuff was a wedding. And I did the thing that you have to do yourself to learn the mistake of doing this so you'll never do it again. I did a favor for a friend, for another friend, his friend that I didn't know. So basically what happened is I had a friend who, his friend was getting married, and my friend was like, hey, will you do this wedding? I'll pay you how much you want. And I hadn't been doing it very long, so I quoted him real low. It was like $500 or something. And that sounds like a lot, but I don't know if anyone's ever shot a wedding before. It's a nightmare. It's an all-day thing. When people, they usually think it's going to go faster than it ever does. I even remember telling him, I was like, it's probably going to be like 8 hours. And I remember saying that. And so basically what happened was I got the money from my friend, and then he just backed away, and he put me in contact with the wife, or soon to be bride. And I didn't know her at all. And the husband, or soon to be husband, who I also didn't know. And the entire experience with them was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. They were some of the worst people I've ever experienced. Like, they were horrible to me. And I remember I had sprung my ankle before the wedding, and I was
Oh
shooting it
no.
alone. Yeah, so I was wearing like a cast, or not a cast, but like an ankle wrap,
Yeah.
and I was like hobbling along, filming the whole thing. I was on my feet for 8 hours or more. It might have been more. I was there all day, shooting all day, and you
Also,
start doing the math.
people don't consider the fact that you have to edit these videos too,
Oh yeah,
and also like I make YouTube videos, and the editing I do is not near on the level of what the stuff you do, and even then, it'll take me several hours sometimes to do something. So people don't consider that you're getting paid for also the editing, which is
right.
probably more of a chunk of time than actually doing the video.
Right. And to be fair, I'll take a lot of the blame, because I was a new videographer. I hadn't been doing it long, and I didn't really know how to price myself. I didn't know how to quote myself. I didn't know how to be firm. I shouldn't have shot that wedding, to be honest with you. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have taken it. I shouldn't have taken the job. And I learned then that I don't like working for friends and family for money. I just don't like doing it. If I can give them like a video service or photography service as a gift, I'll do it. But as a paid gig, I almost hardly ever take them. I don't like them. They make me uncomfortable. So I just don't do them anymore. So that ended up being a horrible nightmare. But anyways, so that one. And then just as like a funny aside, the first time, or it was actually the second time I did stand up. So I went and done it one night in a little bar. And that night I had everything I was going to say all planned out, and I got on stage, and I like had an out of body experience. I don't know what the hell I said. It was like, and it just happened to me. But I remember like
Yeah.
these women were sitting in the front. They're looking at me and they were laughing. So I was like, okay, this must be going all right. Next thing I know, I'm off the stage and like a couple of comedians came up to me like, dude, that was pretty good for your first time. That's great. You can start coming back. And then like they started giving me places to go. And it's kind of like I said to you, in my head, I'm like, I did awesome. I'm going back. The second time I went back, or the next time I went back, it went horrible. It couldn't have gone worse the second time I went. So I go, and it was at Helium Comedy Club in Philadelphia. And I
Yeah.
remember going backstage, and back there at that place, it wasn't like a bar where at the bar they called your name and you just went up stage and you almost have time to think about it. It's like they call your name, you're on stage, and the next thing you know, you're trying to tell jokes to strangers. Philadelphia, you had to be like in the shoot in the green room where you're not up for like 4 or 5 other comedians. Like they would go ahead of you, and then you would go. Sorry, I got allergies, so I might cough a lot.
No, it's all
It's
good.
not Rona.
That you, Rona?
Yeah, is that you, Rona? But I was in the green room, and I'm just waiting, and I'm in my head, and I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I remember looking through the door, and it's like, so you're in this little room with all these comedians, and they don't give a shit about you. They're worrying about their own thing, so no one's talking. It's silent, and I'm just like, and the door opens and they call my name and I have to go out, and it's just me walking out to this light, and I get to the mic and I'm like shaking, and then I just start telling jokes where I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But I said the C word like 10 times, and I
Oh
lost
no.
the audience the first time. But I still proceeded to say it 9 more times.
Oh man.
And yeah, and the problem is like, you're so new, you don't know how to like, okay, this isn't working, I need to readjust, try something different. I had everything I was going to say written out, and it didn't go right immediately out of my mouth.
But you kept
So
going with it
but I
anyways.
was like, hey man, I've got 3 minutes, I know exactly this is all I can say, I'm saying what's on this card. And it went awful. And not only did it go bad, but I had invited a couple of my friends. This is when I was in the military, and I invited a couple of my friends to come with me, and they're in the audience. And I remember when it was over, I was so embarrassed. I got off the stage and I walk out, and the guy at the door, he knew that it went awful, and he was like, "That's all right, man. It happens to all of us." And I go, "Can I just sit in here? I just don't want to see anyone." And he goes, "Yeah, that's fine." So I just sat there until it was all over and people had left. And I left, and I was out there. My friends were waiting on me, and I come out, and I was like, "Man, that went so bad." And my friend Smitty, he was like, "Man, I don't know what happened. You just kept saying it. You're like, you just keep saying like you just wouldn't stop. You just kept saying it." And I was like, LaBee, he should just stop saying it. But I wouldn't. I just kept saying it. Oh
Jeez.
man. So that was awful, but that was an awful that in hindsight is really funny. Like I'm kind of happy that happened to me because it's a great story.
It is a great story. When it first happened to you, though, did it linger with you for like days?
Dude, I told you, I don't know if I've ever been more horrified by myself, because I don't, like back then, I don't know who the comedian was that was popular, but like I was trying to be edgy, and like that's never a good place to start from. Like, oh, I'm going to be edgy. I'm going to say this thing that people are going to be offended by. Like, dude, I'd been on stage once. That joke wouldn't have worked with people I know. Like it was just awful. And I think there was like a Casey Anthony. It was off. It was the worst things I could ever have possibly said to a group of people. And I thought, oh, we'll just try it out. I'm gonna do it. It
Yeah,
went
let's just try it out.
try it out, and it went absolutely terrible. So
God, I wish I could have seen that.
I'm glad you didn't. It's better as a joke. It was bad enough my friend Smitty and Ty had to see it, but yeah, that was pretty horrific.
The few times you did stand up where I got to go see it, it went really well, though.
Well, I mean, again, it's one of those things. It went well for someone who hasn't, isn't a comedian really, who's gotten on stage and is trying, it went fine.
Yeah.
But something I learned from that whole experience, the only time it's really gone okay for me like that is if I just get up there and live in the moment. Just like, all right, I have some ideas of some things I'm going to say, but I'm just going to get up on stage and see what happens. When I tried to plan it out, it went horrifically. So
yeah,
unless you lock yourself into that frame of thinking, like I have to say these things, and when you shouldn't probably say them, just eject.
Even then, when you are like sticking to a complete structure if it doesn't go as planned, you're not feeling out the room. You have no plan to feel out the room. So like
No.
you're just up there saying a pre-made thing. Whereas if you have, okay, I know these ideas, I know this is funny, I'm going to talk
Yeah.
around it. You can feel the room and, build off of what the audience is reacting to.
Right. Which is pretty natural to someone like me or like you or like, the whole reason I had the idea of doing stand up is because I was always kind of like the class kid, or, class clown or like the goofy kid in class. And that kind of like mentality and attitude is all about reacting to the things that are happening. So if I'm not in the moment and reacting to what's happening in front of me, I'm not even doing the thing that makes me sort of funny to some people. Like
Right.
I'm totally not doing the why I'm even here. So yeah, trying to write out a joke on a card and be like, well, I've got 3 minutes of written material. Let me see how this goes. It's probably
I,
not the greatest way to go.
there's only a few like comedians that do like the one-liners that I think are even any good.
Yeah.
Like Norm Macdonald, he does like kind of like
Well,
one-liners.
he's different. He doesn't really do one-liners. He will do one-liners and he'll even do street jokes. Street jokes are
Yeah,
like jokes you can pull out of a joke
right.
book or something.
But like
But
he has a whole structure to him, and they almost
yeah,
always work. Like I couldn't do that. Like
they're usually subversive too. Like his stuff is very like weird sometimes. Like
yeah,
I don't know, I think it was the Comedy Central roast. He like got up there and just read the newspaper or something. It was just bizarre. It's like, what is he doing? And he was like, anyone know who Norm was would think he was bombing, but he was actually, people ended up started laughing because they understood that like, oh, he's doing a bit. Like he's just reading the newspaper. What is he doing?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's amazing. Like he's kind of one of those people that like he'll say something that totally you would have to understand the reference, and then not like a lot of people might not understand the reference, but he doesn't care. He just wants those few
No.
people to get it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's not about you. With Norm
yeah.
stuff, it's not about you at all. So
No, it
you're either
never
coming
is.
along for the ride or don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I am curious like what what do you got in store? Like, okay, no, actually I have one. What is your I went blank for a minute. Sorry. I just got
That's okay.
in the
What do you
mode
got
of
in store? I got nothing in store,
no,
my friend.
I just
Oh,
went blank for a minute is all it was, but
that's good. I was kidding.
I am curious what is like your most proud, like the thing you're most proud of.
Um, it changes all the time, but something I'm currently still pretty proud of is the video I made about dad. And so I was in a nonfiction creative writing class, so anything nonfiction, with a really great professor. She's incredible, and she opened it up. She was like, we can do all kinds of stuff in here. So if anyone wants to do, like, instead of just writing something, you could do a video essay. And I've been doing video work for, a decade at that point. So I was like, oh, I think I might try that. So I made this video essay, and it went over really well. And she invited me to do like I guess it was like a student invitational type thing where they normally do readings, but I ended up being the first ever video essay that they ever put on. And it went really well. I was very proud of that. A whole audience of people that I didn't know watched a thing I made, and I moved some of them to tears. That was pretty cool.
I went
So
to the showing that you did of it at the
yeah.
school, and dude, that's it's you know sometimes it surprises me, like because you think that people won't connect on something that's about,
Mm-hmm.
like, for instance, I watched it and I'm like, obviously it's about our family and our dad and everything, so of course I fucking bawled like a baby, but
Yeah.
um because I don't know if people know, whoever's listening to this, our dad passed of cancer, and pretty much that whole video is like around that time. And
Yeah.
but when I watched it, it hit me hard. But I, thinking from like my perspective, I'm like, no one's gonna get this because it's not about their family or anything, so it won't connect. But it did. It connected with a lot. And I
Yeah.
remember when we were leaving, people just kept stopping. Like, that was amazing. Like, that's great. Like,
I was pretty proud of it, and it's probably stupid for a 30-year-old man who's a student to be proud of something like that, but it was because, I've been making videos for a long time, and I've never sat in on an audience watching something I've made. I've never done that. That was a whole new experience for me. And it's like you said, like I had no idea if people were going to connect with it. But one of my it wasn't the creative writing teacher who put me up or, nominated me to do that, but it was a totally different teacher I had. He was my fiction creative writing teacher. Dude, he was crying. He walked up, like there was still another girl who had to go after me, and she was crying. Like, she's like, I don't know how I'm going to do my reading after that. And I actually felt bad. I was like, man, I didn't want to like ruin her moment with, with my stuff.
I remember it because she was up there reading and she kept going, sorry, that video was just really hard.
Yeah.
I was like, dang.
It made me feel awful. It really did. Like the whole time I was telling her, I was like, man, I feel like an asshole. Like this was supposed to be her moment too. It's not Ryan's night. It's all these people. And like, she's having a hard time getting through her stuff. And originally I was supposed to be last. I wasn't supposed to be second to last. Like,
dude, they should have put you last. Like that would have,
well, they didn't. It didn't even. I don't think it had anything to do with the subject matter or anything. I think literally I was last because it was a video, and they're like, "Well, we don't know how this is going to go. We'll put it at the end." But that girl, something happened. Like on their way there, I think there was an accident, like a car accident, and everyone was fine. But her family had to stay behind to do all of like the insurance and stuff. So she asked me if I would go in her place, and then she could go last. And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And so part of me, like, I couldn't even, yeah, well, no, and part of me was like, okay, well, she's already upset because like this happened to her family. She was just in a car accident. Like she's already at a heightened emotion. So when she was crying and stuff, I was like, she's probably just upset because of the whole situation plus the video. But then after my other creative writing teacher came up to me and was like, Ryan, that was really good. Thank you for sharing that with us. And he had tears in his eyes. And I was like, holy crap. Like I've never experienced anything like that. So that was cool.
Luckily the girl who did the reading after you still did really well. Like, I mean,
she's an incredible writer. I don't want to say her name because I don't know her very well, but she's an incredible writer. She won the student writing contest this year. She beat me in the nonfiction. I was up as a nominee for the nonfiction student writing competition, and she won. She's an incredible writer. So
yeah, I would say she still did really well. And it's nice to see that people can be moved. Some people, when they watch something, they just don't feel anything. But
well, we call those people psychos.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, dude. Shallow and pedantic.
I spilt it all over myself like a real ass.
You got to do the duck lips with it.
I've been doing that this whole interview. I keep doing it, and I was wondering if you'd noticed yet. When in doubt, pinky up.
Exactly.
Yep.
Oh man, spilt it all
spilled
over
some
my
coffee on you.
Spilt it all.
What a loser!
Freaking!
I have a wet lap right now.
Hey, here you go. I want to show you something.
Okay. Oh my god. Hey, that reminds me of Max. Yeah.
God, that's amazing.
Inside jokes are the best.
They are, but getting to show a picture of my dogs, I got to do it every time.
Once, and a chance lifetime. Once in a lifetime chance. Not good with words.
No, I did it last interview too.
Did you really? Is it just going to be an ongoing thing where you just show your dog?
I'm like, yeah, that's great. So how does that really make you feel about the
this whole thing is just a guise for you to be able to show your dog to people? Like you're just waiting to show the dog. You're like, so you got anything new coming up?
Yeah. I really like the new work that you've been doing, and there's just into frame. I come in wearing a shirt that's him.
You should get a shirt made of him with that on there. Have Kayla have that made up.
That actually sounds like a good idea. It could be the ongoing joke of this podcast. There's just pictures in the background of him, like
he's your token or your
mascot.
Mascot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said token. Totem is what I meant to say.
It's like, why wouldn't you just have him in the video then? Just like, well, if you knew him.
Yeah, no, he's not the type to sit still during an interview.
No, he'll be up in my face the whole fucking time.
No, him's a good boy.
He is.
Sheila's a good boy.
He
But
is. So, how are you holding up with being Well, I guess we're technically out of quarantine now, but there for like,
should we be?
That's a different
Let's not
get
question. Political. Yeah. I mean, I'm a full-time student now, and I stay home with my kid all the time. Or you know this, she's your niece. Yeah. So I'm a stay-at-home dad.
Who?
It's not much.
No, I'm just kidding.
Who? It's not much different. Having the kid home all the time, so it's fine. We're doing all right. It could be way worse, so I'm thankful. Amber gets to work from home, so that's really awesome. And you keep hearing all these horror stories about like after this is over, there's going to be a shit ton of like divorces and shit because people just don't know how to handle each other and be around each other. Yeah, it hadn't been bad at all. Amber and I have been getting along so good. I love it. It's going to suck when she has to go back to work and it goes back to normal. Like I want people to be safe. That's not what I'm saying. We are very lucky that we have a lifestyle that is sustainable for a while. That we could have been fine, and she kept her job, so it could be way worse. So I have nothing to complain about in that regard. So
that's good.
Yeah, man,
that's good. So what's new with you?
Did you already run out of ideas of what to talk about? You're like, no, I don't know what else to talk about.
This is like the hardest. Dude, this is the hardest one it's been for me to think of questions for you.
What? Why?
I don't know. I think it's because I'm in my own head. Like you and I, I'm closer to you than, you and Billy.
Think that would make it easier.
You would think, but I'm like, I think it also has something to do with that I don't know as much about your craft as I do music.
I mean, being creative is being creative, man. There's no difference.
Okay. So whenever you're going through a slump, like everyone does, and you're having a hard time being creative, what do you do to get yourself out of it?
I might not be the greatest answer of that question, but so you have been super like creative and prolific during this pandemic. I went the other way, man. I went into kind of a dark place. Like, I don't know. I get down sometimes. So this pandemic was kind of rough, and I don't know. I just got down. So I have not been creative. But one thing that helps me generally get back into it is sometimes I need to immerse myself into a totally different thing than I normally do or am into. And what I mean by that is like, I haven't been watching hardly any TV or any video stuff at all. I've just been reading a lot. And that's not like, oh, I read a lot. I'm just saying I've been trying to look at things that I normally don't, because I think it for me anyways, it turns like a switch in my head where I can start thinking about other stuff. And then that's where some of really cool, different, weird shit comes from for me. So I've just been reading a lot and checking out stuff that I normally wouldn't. A lot of YouTube rabbit holes.
Dude, I think everyone goes through that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's like, why am I, 3 hours into learning how to make beehives? Like or not beehives, but like those bee farms. Like, why am I
was watching like hours of woodworking. I'm like, I'm buying all the tools. I'm getting all the tools for woodworking. I'm starting a shop now.
You know what the worst part about that is you watch stuff like that and you're like, oh, that's easy. Look how easy it is. They're showing you how easy it is. And then you get it and you're like, I don't understand. They just, I'm like,
but it's like he was just putting the equipment together. He wasn't even making anything.
Oh, he just plugged it in. Like, no, I just don't understand. Like, you watch these videos and they're like, so it's these three simple steps.
Super simple.
And this and this. And that's it. And you have this. And then you try it and you're like 5 hours in and it looks like a fucking 10-year-old made it. Like,
it's like, I don't get it. I don't know what he's doing that I'm not doing. I've done all these steps. Clearly, it's like a mirror image of I'm looking at the wrong thing. He's left-handed. I'm right-handed. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, no, totally.
Dude,
a lot of baking.
Yeah. Baking. Dude, I know what it is. I feel like a lot of those videos, they make it, they're like, it's these 3 simple steps and they go through it, but there's like a lot of stuff that they do that they don't put in the video.
Probably, or even like some stuff you just you can't capture in a video. And what I mean is like, okay, I used to work at a meat processing plant. This is going to make sense. Just stick with me. If I made a video of it, it'd be like, you take this hook, you grab it, and you cut this piece out. What I'm not saying is, yeah, but there's a certain way you got to kind of like twist your hand, and it makes it way easier to cut that thing out, and then you don't ruin the meat. But like that would take forever to explain. Or like, no, you got to do it like this. So sometimes you can't pick up like the little finessing
The little
of things that
intricacies.
they're doing, the little intricacies, or the way they move their hand, or the way they do the little things that they might not even think about putting in there, because they don't even realize, oh yeah, I did pick that up because I've been doing this for 10 years. Do you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah. Dude,
I don't know why I had to bring meat processing
meat
plant
process.
into this.
That
I'm
had to have
sorry.
been. That has to be like one of the worst jobs. Was it
It
awful?
was it was one of the worst jobs I ever had. But I tell you what, I am super grateful that we grew up the way we did, and that I've
Yeah.
had so many weird jobs, because it gives me, I think, like access to like some really cool different things to write about and like talk about. Like I'm already thinking of ideas to set inside of a meat plant. I want to write a horror story set in a meat processing plant, or a guy who works at a meat processing plant. I mean, it writes itself. No, and also my time in the military. Like one of my greatest times while I was in the military is when I was in the or not the National Guard, the honor guard.
hmm
And it's really morbid, but it's like, when people die, they have military honors. Well, there's a group of young airmen. For me, when I was in the Air Force, young airmen, they train to like fold the flag and go out and do this ceremony and present the flag and everything. And I just think that's a super interesting like setting to put a horror story in, because
Yeah.
like you don't read those a lot, or you don't see those a lot.
Yeah. Um, I was folding flags and stuff is pretty hard too. Like I watched you do it, and I was like,
It
I
is.
don't understand how you're doing it like that, because I tried it and I was like, I can't do it. And like, but you had
It
it.
is.
It looked perfect. Like,
Well, I mean, there's something to be said for being stuck in a building with basically a military instructor like barking down your neck for weeks before you even go on your first detail. That's what they were called, is detailed. And there's a lot of training. Like that's all I did. Like when I was at McGuire, all I did for 6 months was honor guard. Like I wasn't a mechanic anymore. I was specifically assigned to a new detail, or a new like group, with a new boss and everything. And it's like, this is all you're doing for 6 months.
and you
So
loved it.
all day long, that's all we did, is trained to fold flags, and and everything is different. Like if you died as an active duty military person, you got a 21 man like situation. Like I think it was 21. I know there's the 21 gun salute. So I think it was 21 total. I don't remember, but it's a big deal. It's a lot of people. And it would take everyone. Like we're all going to this one detail to do this ceremony. And then if you were like, a veteran who died, and they were like a World War II veteran, which is a lot of them, that's who we did.
Yeah.
You only got like a 2 or 3 man detail. It'd just be me and 2 other people. And we get to drive all up and down the East Coast to crazy. But I did a detail in New York City, like the
Yeah,
heart of like New York City.
I remember you telling me that driving through New York was awful.
It was. Well, I mean, that was a whole different situation. Like that one was a big detail. There was a lot of us. I don't remember how many, but there were several.
hmm
And we had a 15-person van, one of those big ass, like massive vans. And I guess the thing to do was, whenever you were having to go to New York, was make the new guy drive the van. So they were doing it to fuck with me. And they forced me to drive the van, and I about had a panic attack. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not doing this. I put it in park, and I was like, I'm not doing it. And I moved, and someone had to take over. It was too much. I couldn't
Dang.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we went to New York City, you, me, and Amber, and it was just like packed all the time. It's like it's quicker to walk across the city
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
than it is to drive. Like I
Yeah.
don't, or to take the subway or whatever. But
Mhm.
um, that's really interesting. How do you feel about like the fact that you're in the military and everything? Is it something that you're glad you did, or like
I think it. Yeah, I'm glad I did it.
really?
Not to get political in any way, but I don't know how to say this. I don't want to. sound like I'm disparaging anyone. I think
Well,
it's
let me put it this way. Whatever you're saying is purely based on your experience, not anyone
yeah,
else's.
I think my experience in the military made me a stronger person and made me more um detail oriented, and it made me more just more structured. Like I'm pretty loosey goosey with my day now. Like I don't do like, oh, I'm gonna do this at 8, I'm gonna do this at 9 or anything like that. But I don't know, it just gave me a lot of not morals, but I guess just things that I think are important that I still do.
Structure or
Yeah,
something.
structure. And also like, you were raised in the same house as me. I was poor as shit. I couldn't go to school. Like there
Yeah.
was no, like I know there's student loans, but no one even told me how to do that. Like I remember
Yeah.
going to my high school guidance counselor, and I don't remember being told how to do anything. I didn't know what to do, and I
You
had
know,
good grades, and I didn't get a scholarship one. I didn't know how to apply for them. Nothing. Nobody told me how to do a fucking thing, and my parents couldn't pay for college,
yeah.
so the military paid for my college.
You know,
Still is paying for my college.
I got lucky there. Whenever I was in high school in Hermitage, the student or the high school counselor was someone else, and she was only there for like 2 or 3 years. I know I'm not gonna say her name just because, but
Yeah.
uh, she was awesome. She stayed after school with me, helped me fill out my FAFSA. She filled out scholarships
Wow.
with me and stuff, and I got 2 scholarships, and I got my FAFSA all together and everything. Dude, honestly, um, not that she'll ever see this, but like I've always been super appreciative that she did that. And she was like such a super cool lady. She was
Got
like,
a good one. It sounds
yeah,
like you had a good one.
yeah, and I remember we talked about religion, like it
Mm.
got brought up, and you know how we feel, like you and I are pretty similar on
Hmm.
this, on that. And but like I was expecting, because she was like an older lady, to be like, well, I'm Christian. She's like, she wasn't. She was like into Buddhism, and she like
Nice.
went on about it, and it was really interesting. She's just a cool lady, but
Yeah. She's a really nice
she's
lady.
a really
Uh,
nice lady.
um, Well, I think I kind of feel about my military experience the same way I do about my like being raised in religion. Like I'm not religious,
Right.
and it was kind of a nightmare growing up in a lot of aspects. But I also am kind of grateful for it because, again, I think it gave me like I I don't know how to put it, but it just
Gave you
gave like
perspective.
layers to my life. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
can, yeah, it gives things perspective. Like when shit gets real bad, it's like this pandemic thing. Like I understand it's super serious. People are dying. I'm not making light of it at all. It's horrific. It's horrific. Part of me, when people started worrying about the economy, yeah, it would be awful to lose everything. But in my head, I was a little more at ease. Like I didn't get nearly as panicked about that like I thought I would because I've already been there. I've seen that. I know what it looks like as a kid. I've lived it
Yeah.
already. So I
And
know it's survivorable.
like I don't want to get into like, well, I don't mind. We can say whatever we want about our childhood if you want and everything, but all I was gonna say is like, you know, given the perspective we have, like even if they like, I don't want it to happen because I know a lot of people would be affected by it. But as far as how you and I and Billy would cope, I look back and I go, yeah, even if, we got to where we were really poor and stuff again, I still do not think we would be as bad as we were growing up. That's how
Maybe,
bad we
maybe
were.
not. Yeah, maybe
Like
not.
that.
But then again, maybe it could get worse. I mean, maybe it could get worse. But my point is not even about how bad it could get. It's that it
We know how
might
to
feel
handle it.
like it's the end. Yeah, it might feel like it's the end. Like, how are you ever going to bounce back from this? But as a kid, I saw what a bottom, our bottom could, our bottom. I don't like that term. I'm going to change what I was going to say. I know what the worst of our childhood could look like. And as long as it's within that range, like I think it would be awful. I don't wish it on anyone, but it's survivorable. I know that there's a way to come back from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
the end of the world. I think it's people who, no, I don't even want to say that, but I think like experiencing adversity or being at the bottom or whatever at a young age can give you a decent perspective on life. But then again, it can also be horrific. Like
Yeah.
horrible things can happen, and
I
I
think you
don't
could
wish it
go
on
either
anyone.
way.
Yeah, yeah,
Just like how, growing up, certain parents of ours weren't good with money at all. And so like
Yeah.
you could go either way. Like you're either going
Yeah.
to end up being really good with money or you're going to end up being probably bad with money like they were.
Yeah.
Like,
Luckily, I have someone to balance me out because I am terrible with money. If I
dude,
have money, I want to spend it.
that's probably why. And
And
I'm the opposite. I feel like I'm a tightwad. I'm like, I don't want to.
well, Amber is similar. My wife is similar. Like, she's good with money. So
I think that's kind of how it goes though. Like I'm good with money and Kayla wants to spend it. Like she gets it, it's gone. Like, you know what I mean?
As long as my bills are paid, I do make sure my bills are paid.
That's really what matters,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What do you think
for a retirement?
yeah. That's overrated. What, so what, you're not supposed to live and save all your money when you're younger, when you can do things, and then when you turn 65 and anything you want to do physically will blow out your back, that's when you're gonna do it. Like,
Nathan, have you not heard about the story about the ant who doesn't prepare for winter? Like, this doesn't end well. Take it back to writing and literature.
Yeah.
The ant who didn't save. I think it's the ant. I don't remember if it's an ant or if it's a grasshopper. It's one of the two.
I actually have no idea what you're talking about. So.
Oh, you just laughed. Like, he's like, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Karen. What are you talking about?
Well, there's just the premise. You don't even have to tell me the story. I know what it's gonna be about.
Yeah,
do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like,
it was some book we read in school. I'm pretty sure it was the ant and the grasshopper, but it's basically, it's a premise that's been used 100 times. Yeah, one of them doesn't save for the winter, and winter comes, and they're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, that's
Grasshopper's a good one. Like, you should have saved.
That's a great book.
It is. Stuck with me.
I've never read it.
Yeah. I love that book. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that one's great. Yeah.
Someone's gonna be like, that's the squirrel, you asshole. It's not an ant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is it? Ninja Turtles, Ninja Kick 'em or whatever. What is it?
Ninja Kick the damn rabbit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Doesn't have anything to do with this conversation, though. I don't know where that came from.
He's like, I was thinking about the like childhood stories and Tortoise and the Hare.
Oh, well, that was a long way to go, but yeah, I see the connection now.
Yeah.
Good call.
That's how my brain works, dude.
Mine too. And I and I have those little like earworms or whatever where like there's like a bit of dialogue from a movie that I'll hear it in my head and I just gotta say it. Pretty sure that's a form of Tourette's or OCD or something.
Probably.
I better say this.
Dude, I do the same thing. Right now, one of them that like is in my head a lot is I keep doing the Tom Segura thing. I go, box!
I wasn't prepared for that.
Right?
Yeah. Box!
Yeah.
I'm trying to make you spit your coffee, damn it.
No, dude, I am the guy to do that too. You almost always, you wait until I fucking take a drink.
Yeah.
Hit me with something out of left field and it's gone. Like,
I did that to Amber yesterday. I don't even remember what I said, but I said something. She just sat down and took a drink, and I said something. She's like, and just all over herself. God. That was a stupid story. I don't even know why I shared that. It's like, yeah, one time I made my wife laugh. What the fuck was that?
I thought it was funny.
I'm in my head.
Yeah, you shouldn't be. It's a scary place up there.
It is a scary dark place. Don't go in there. Yeah. Not good.
So like growing up the way we did and everything, do you feel like that's affected your art? Or better yet, do you think you would even be in art if you hadn't been? Sometimes I think that I might not even be in music if we hadn't been been raised the way we were.
I think I probably would have still been drawn to art to some degree. Really? I don't know if you have to have a shitty child to be into art, and I don't want to advocate for that. I know that sometimes it comes away like I'm saying that, but that's not what I mean. I think I would still be in the arts of some sort. But
the only reason I say that is because like I remember one of the biggest reasons I picked up guitar is because for a while we didn't really have like internet, or we didn't have like, you know what I mean? Like we didn't have the things most kids had. So I was like, I'll just play this guitar. So like, it was like the one thing I could do for fun. You know what I meant? You know what I mean?
No, there's maybe something to that. So it's probably something to that. And that's probably why I read a lot as a kid. Like we didn't have a lot of money, so we didn't go places. But the one thing I did have was a library card, and I could just walk to the library.
Yeah. Dude, I
Billy
will
and
say this. Go ahead. No, you guys
I
used to take me to the library.
right. Well, even before you were probably old enough to go, I know Billy and I, dude, we would go to the library every other day, and there's no way that we were reading all the damn books, but we would go and get as much shit as we could, movies, books, whatever we could have. If I could just put it out there, I'm sure this whoever watches this is probably a lot of like artsy type people who probably don't have a lot of money, and they probably already do this. So I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I'm going to say it anyways. For the love of God, support your local library. It's one of the best things our city has. I specifically even pay extra to have a membership to the Springfield Library as well as my local library, just because it's an incredible resource. I'm not getting paid by them. I'm just putting it out there because I love libraries, and if you can support them, please support your library.
Yeah, and also for anyone who knows me, I love comic books. That's like my
Mhm.
because I
Springfield's got an
yeah,
amazing.
that's what I was gonna say. If you go to the Springfield Library Center, they have a huge selection of graphic novels. And
Mhm.
dude, if you live here, it's free. Just go there, read.
Yep.
They have like entire series, everything, and it's great. You know, you can support
Yeah.
them, and also, you know, you can go read these. My thing is I'll read a series and read a couple and be like, okay, I know I'm gonna really like this, and then I start buying them because I just like to have them.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to test out some comics too if you're like me and you can't read good and you need something with a picture.
It can't read no good. No, hey, dude, I love graphic novels. I'll read. I am not picky. If it's good, it's good. I don't care if there's
Yeah.
no words. One of my favorite graphic novels is a book. It's called Here by I think it's Jeffrey McGuire or George McGuire. It's called Here. There's no words in it. It's all just pictures, and it's incredible. What it is like, I guess there are some words, but it's almost none. It's basically like a silent film, and it's a story told through pictures about a place, and it's sort of autobiographical. He was drawing his own home, and then he just tells a story in different time periods throughout the book. You could flip one page, it'll say 1914, and it'll show what the house would have looked like in 1914, and there'll be like a little sliver where what it looks like in current time, and they're like this,
It's
like
really artsy. Yeah.
overlapping time for. It's an incredible book. Got it from the library.
Yeah.
Again, this is going to sound like a plug for the library, but I truly mean this with everything in me. Even if they don't have a book you want, say there's some crazy book that you
They'll
want
get
and you
it.
don't, they'll get it. All you got to do is request it, and they will get it. And that money still goes to artists and stuff. They don't there's no program where like free books are given to the library. They pay for those books, so you're helping the authors as well. So
Yeah. And I actually got onto a really cool graphic novel series that I like from because of the library. It's called The Descendants or The Descenders. I haven't read it in a while, but it's like a sci-fi one, and it's amazing.
yeah, I mean that's
Uh,
where I get all my books. I got a giant pile, and some of them I won't read, but it doesn't matter.
yeah,
I like having them there. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe I'll get to them. I don't know. But that sounds like a plug for the library, but legitimately, it's one of the best things that personally, I don't care how much my tax money goes to the library. I'll keep doing it, and I'll pay for memberships because they're great. And when we're not going through a pandemic, it's a great place to take your kid too during the summer. They have all kinds of cool summer programs, and Meadow loves going to the library. So
Yeah, it's great. There's a lot of cool local places too if you're into graphic novels, like the Nameless City. Um,
oh yeah,
they
that's a
have
good plug.
they have like a little shelf where you can get local. Like there's a couple local people who make comics. Like I'm currently writing one, but there's people who've actually
Yeah,
got them done and everything. I bought one the other day and it's pretty good. Like,
yeah,
you know, I just think people should support more local. There is so much local talent here, like
hmm
that is just being slept on. Like,
yeah.
but
I'll tell you what. Not to. Sorry, did I cut in? I'm sorry. I
no,
was
go ahead. No, that's all I had to say.
I was just gonna build off what you're saying about local talent and stuff. One thing I hope happens after this pandemic is I hope people are more like drawn to local businesses and art and are really putting their dollars into local stuff. I've been trying to.
Yeah.
I've been trying to buy books. If I'm buying a book, if I'm gonna buy one, I've been really trying to get them specifically from local bookstores.
Yeah, and I've been telling people too, like, and this goes for any kind of art, like you know, there's a, for instance, in the music scene, there's a lot of local bands, a
Mm,
lot. And there is some really good local bands that have good production, good shows. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
all their music's on Spotify and everything, and they sound like they are a professional band. They're just local,
yeah,
and
yeah.
people just are sleeping on them because granted, you're gonna find some duds. You are, that's just
That's in
how it goes.
anything.
That's in anything.
That's in
But
anything.
everyone starts local, and there's some great stuff here. There really is, and that's
Mm.
not just music, videography, photography, all that. There's some great stuff here. Um, I don't know what Kaylee normally does, but she's great too. She did the thumbnail for these videos for me.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
Kaylee Lockhart or
yeah,
Lockhart. Yeah, she's
yeah.
done a couple things for me. I really like her art. She's great.
Yeah, so and that's what I'm saying. There's so much here, and I just want people to start realizing like, hey, my favorite whatever doesn't have to be this super famous person. Like, there's some great stuff here, and if we just look into it and support it, maybe they'll thrive. You know what I mean?
Another thing I think you can really do as an artist too. Like I know mostly you deal with music, but I think all of us can do more in like plugging each other. Just be like, oh, hey, if you're into this, like I do that with your stuff all the time, and I know
Yeah,
it's because I'm an older brother or I'm your older brother, so I'm like, hey, look at my little brother. But
right.
still, like I really love the stuff you guys do, and you're super professional. I love your shit. And one time I was in class and someone was talking about death metal, and I was like, hey, my brother plays metal. I don't think it's death metal, but maybe you'll like it. And I played it. I'm like, dude, that's pretty rad. That's your brother? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, they play around here, and he took all your information and shit. I don't know if he
That's
ever
awesome.
looked you up, but I think people need to do that more. Or like with Kaylee,
Yeah,
she made art for me, and you're like, who's doing your art? And I told you, I was like, hey, you should try. She's great, and she's fast, and she's reasonably priced.
yeah.
And next thing you know, you've got thumbnails and shit made by her. So
Yeah, that's also, yeah, that's one thing I'll plug her again is that she's quick. Like, I got it back in like a day or so
mhm.
maybe, and it was very reasonably priced. And she really built off what I like, for instance, she asked me what my ideas were, like, what are you going for? And I was just like, well, I have this idea, but I kind of want you to just take the reins because I think you could come up with something better than I could for in
Yeah,
that realm. And she did great. So, if you're needing like thumbnails, or like she did podcast, like little covers or whatever you'd call it, for
yeah.
you. And those look
Hmm.
great too.
I guess I could have plugged that. So you asked me if I have anything coming up. I'm trying my hardest to work on a podcast. It's a narrative podcast though. It's not like interviews. It's going to be a story, and
Yeah.
it's a western. But yeah, she
Dude,
did
I
the
think that's great though. It's a nice
yeah.
change of
Thanks, man.
pace. Everyone's
It's
doing
weird.
interviews.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, there's a lot of narrative podcasts. I'm in by no means like one of the first. Like, there's a shit ton
No,
out
I
there.
know, but there's
But yeah,
definitely way
that's
more
what I'm.
interviews though.
That's true. That's what I wanted to do it though. Is for that reason. I was like, oh, you know what? I write. I'm already writing this stuff, and it's weird, and I don't know what to do with it. Maybe I can make like episodes out of it and produce it as a podcast. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I've already got a couple chapters written, but I really need to buckle down and get some more written on that.
You need
But I
to,
only brought that up because she did the artwork on that podcast cover, and it's incredible. I literally, same thing you said. I was like, here's a little sketch of what I made. I said, but I want you to take the reins. You do whatever you want. These are some of my ideas. Dude, by the end of the day, she shot me back a thumbnail, and I was like, that's better than what I had in mind. It's perfect. That's what I
yeah,
want.
yeah. Because at first, like when I told her with my thumbnail, she was like, I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, "Do you want, guitars and stuff?" I was like, "Why don't you throw in like some stuff that's just more around like, yeah, music, but also like just fine arts?" Because I plan on having other people other than musicians on
Yeah.
here. Because my thought process is like, yes, I want the the music scene to thrive, and that's like my ultimate goal. But
Yeah.
the music scene is going to thrive by knowing who you are. Like, you do videos and photography and stuff, and like
Yeah.
we could use that. And same thing with like Kaylee, she makes thumbnails and stuff, or like
Yeah.
art,
And
like
she's a
she
graphic
graphic
artist. She does all
designers.
kinds
That's
of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you know, bands can benefit from that. They might need something like, you get what I'm saying? So like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's, I think as a whole, you know, it always feels like, okay, the artists are over here, the graphic designers over here, the musicians over here. It's like it should just be all one.
Well, it's
Everyone.
also not knowing who to talk to. I think this is great as a podcast, just in the sense, or I'm sorry, a vodcast. I forgot you
Podcast.
coined that.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah.
No, dude.
It's just great to be able to have like a place. Like, yeah, I know there's an art scene, whatever that means, in Springfield, but like I'm a dad, I'm at home all the time. I can't go to a lot of things, but to have like a source, it's like, oh, he probably knows someone who would do these things I need.
Right.
So yeah, and just
That's
supporting
the
each
plan.
other.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think that it really needs to be that way, you know, but
I think it would be great if you got, I keep doing that. I'm sorry, man. The Zoom.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it'd be awesome if you got some teachers on here too. Get some like instructors.
That'd actually be great. That'd be great.
I know you're a teacher too. I'm not saying, I'm not disqualifying you from
no, it's no. I was a teacher, not anymore.
I mean, once a teacher, always a teacher. You know what I mean?
3.5 years.
Yeah. I know it's cliche, but I mean, for real, once a teacher, always a teacher. If you're a good one, anyways.
Hey, check this out. I want to show you something.
Oh my God, it's Max.
No. Hey, I want to show you something now that we're on the topic of teaching.
Yeah.
No.
I learned so much from that.
Yeah. No, I've got this fortune cookie the other day, and I put it in my phone case because of what it says. Look.
One learns most from teaching others. Hey, man, that's true. My Spanish class, that's how I remember shit. I'll come home and I'll just start telling Amber like she wants to know. She's like, okay, thank you. Me gusta as well.
Yeah.
But
it's true, dude. Like when I started teaching, it took my I don't want to say you fake it till you make it, but it's one of those things that like I would have people ask me a question and I'm like, hold up now, you're not ready for that. We'll get to that next week after we and then I'd go home and learn it and then come.
I gotta learn this. I gotta learn it quick because I told them they're not ready, but I think they're ready.
Yeah, well, it would be like that happened in the very beginning, and then after I had been there for like a while, it got so ingrained in my head with all this stuff that I didn't have to do that anymore. I just knew it. You know what I mean? But it was like one of those things that I did know music theory, but I didn't go over every topic so much to where it was just like that. You know what I mean?
For sure. Nope, there's something to that. I agree with it. I mean, that's why it's a cliche that's on a fortune cookie. Because there's some truth to it. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So have you ever thought about doing any kind of teaching or anything as far as
that's the plan.
Well, I know like you want to be a professor and all that, but I mean, like, have you thought
I don't know about a professor, but I want to teach. Yeah. Honestly, a lot. And I wanted a few summers ago, I wanted to start a photography workshop, but I just never really got it off the ground. And I don't really even know where to begin, but I've been wanting to do it for a long time. And I think eventually I'll do it because I think there's a lot you could learn in a small workshop about photography, just simple stuff like things that I wish people would have told me to focus on in the beginning, just like learning your triangle of exposure for an image. Like, dude, it took me like 2 or 3 years to finally be like, that, okay, I get it now. So now I can go out with the intention of a certain image and I know exactly how to get it because I know my triangle of exposure, but I didn't for a really long time. And it would have been great to know that. And that's something you could definitely pick up in an afternoon at a workshop. So that's something I want to do.
Well, as far as photography goes, that was something that I started doing as well, just as a hobby with you, because I'm not like you, like I'm not an actual photographer. It was more of like, because I don't like taking photo. Okay, for instance, photography for me is like how you are with drawing and stand up. I really enjoy it. I enjoy it, but I don't love it. And but like I'm not the type of person where I'd want to go out and take photos by myself. It doesn't interest me very much. But when it's like me and you and we're like, hey, let's go take photos, that sounds amazing because we get to hang out and we have fun and take photos. I love doing that. But whenever you got me into it, dude, the biggest thing that helped me understand it was starting to shoot on film, because you have to know all that stuff.
Because it's literal money. I don't remember what famous filmmaker said this, but like something about shooting on film, you can literally hear the money going through the machine. Like every
Yeah.
second money is being spent. And if I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, I'm watching my money burn up. And that's what it
Yeah.
is with film. You have to be intentional because you've only got 24 exposures, 36 maybe, but 24 usually. And you might only have one roll. You better know what the fuck you're doing or have some sort of intention or be able to afford to spend a lot of money on film. Yeah, you're right. The shooting on film, I think, is super important for learning.
Would you recommend for all the people who are learning, would you recommend starting on that or just like
If you can afford it,
supplement it?
no, if you can afford it, because it is expensive. And if you're not developing stuff at your own house like I do, which that took me a long time before I started doing that.
Dude, let me
Um,
say something about that. You taught me how to we did that like when I came over there and we did our film together.
yeah,
That was one of the most like relaxing and fun times I've ever had. Like that
that's
was
what I tell
a
Amber. Like
blast.
literally, like taking photos and then coming home. Sometimes I'll forget I have rolls of film, and then I'll be like, oh, I got like 4 or 5 rolls of film I need to develop. I know what I'm doing today. Because
Yeah.
yeah, it'll just I can zone out and that's all I think about, and I can do it at home. But yeah, if you can't afford that because it is expensive, no. I am not a camera snob by any means. If you go to my Instagram, most of my photos up there right now, like in the first like 15, 16 images, are all shot on my phone because it's the thing I have. I'm a big proponent of if you want to take photos, you want to make videos, what do you have on you right now? That's the camera you should be using. So but I do think if you have the luxury of learning with film, I think it's a great way to learn because it makes you be more intentional. But I think with anything, it's like you and guitar. Would you tell someone to go out and buy an expensive guitar to start playing guitar? No,
No
pick up
way.
whatever the fuck you have or you can afford and just start playing.
My thought process is this, like a cheap guitar is totally fine as long as it plays well.
Mm-hmm. How's
Like
it play?
yeah, exactly. I actually don't have very expensive guitars. The most expensive guitar I have is like brand new when it first came out was like $700, and it's when I bought it used from a student who didn't like it, and I got it for like 200 and something dollars. Spent I've never even spent $500 on a guitar, never,
Wow.
because I
Yeah,
buy them.
that's
Yeah, I buy them used and stuff, and like you'd think like my guitars are really nice, and it's like not really. They're okay. Like and
yeah.
but they like for instance, matter of fact, I got one sitting right here. Look,
Mm, nice.
so this one, let me just put into perspective for you, is a Squire. It's a Fender Squire, and it you spend like $150 on it, and I bought some parts and I completely redid it myself. And now
That's awesome.
it plays better than any guitar I've ever had. And it was $150 guitar. Like when I first had it, it was kind of crappy. It kind of played like crap, but I redid the frets. I tuned it up and did a ton of stuff to it. And I would say I have like $300 into the guitar, and it plays better than any guitar I've ever had. So
I think there's a lot of people who think that they have to have the most expensive thing to start, and that is a common misconception with everything, with
yeah,
any art. And it happened. It definitely happened to me when I got into like video stuff, and I still see it. I have a friend who's like obsessed with gear, and he'll send me like these links. Like, look, Canon's making new. I was like, dude, I have been shooting on my phone for like the last year. I don't even follow the gear stuff anymore because
yeah.
some of the things I'm the most proudest of were shot either on my phone or I took them with an old ass film camera and developed the film myself, like for
Yeah.
real.
I think
Yeah,
film is one of those things, like you said, it's really expensive to do long term, but it's also one of the cheapest to do startup, probably.
it's a great way to get an aesthetic or a or like really cool quality, like a I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, I guess film, if you didn't have a camera at all, you don't have a phone, you don't have anything, and you could have like your dad's camera laying around or something, and you can shoot on it, by all means, it's great
Yeah.
to do. But I do think it is unfortunately not the easier thing. I think most
Mm.
people, especially kids or whoever is getting into something new, most everyone has a phone on them, and it
Yeah.
takes incredible quality photos. You
Yeah.
can do all
And
kinds of things with it.
the whole thing about like, oh, taking photos on your phone isn't the same as blah, 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 blah. It's
Yeah,
like,
horse's ass.
it's all bullshit because really it doesn't matter. It's all about, okay. let me put it this way, and you and I are both feel this way, and I know you do because we've talked about it. But like, okay, someone comes up to you and like, you're a really good photographer. You must have a really nice camera. That
Drives me nuts.
drives you nuts. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, what about all these people who have nicer cameras than me, and my photos on my phone look better than the ones they took with their camera? It's like, it's not about what you use. It's about knowing how to make something creative out of what you have around you. Like, okay, this person is standing this way. How am I going to line up the background to make these lines interesting?
Yeah.
And draw attention to where I want them to, or how am I going to make these colors pop and stuff like that. And lighting is the biggest one, dude. And
Basic composition. I notice a lot of like people with really expensive gear who are paying or making people pay for their services, and they shouldn't be, because they don't have a basic understanding of composition and like space and the image. Like, dude, I'm not going to say anyone's names because I don't like bringing people down. There's no reason to do that. But there's just some people that I think they went out and bought a very expensive piece of gear, and now they think they're professional. And I think it's a lot easier to start up now, so a lot of people do. But just get some time behind your get some time on your hands. I don't know. I was almost said get some time behind your belt. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Get some time behind your belt.
Well, it's one of those things too. It's like to the average, to most people who don't really know anything about it, they go, "Oh, well, the person's in focus and the background's blurry. That looks professional."
It's like, but what's going on behind the image?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like,
you know what I'm talking about.
Lopsided, and you got like poles in the background on a building that's going through their head, so it looks like a spikes through their head. It's like, I've seen some crazy shit that people try to. I've done some crazy shit. Do you know what I mean? I've taken some horrific photos when I was starting out, and honestly, I don't even know why I'm saying like don't do this, because I did all those things. You almost got to learn. And if I say don't do it, someone's going to do it.
Yeah.
It's a great way to learn. You learn from your mistakes when you do your successes.
Yeah, it's true. So. And it's in the same thing, like where people.
I think I read that on a fortune cookie.
Hold on, I actually have that one. No.
Oh yeah, on my other phone.
Yeah, dude. It's one of a musician I really look up to. I like. Several years ago when I first started doing YouTube and stuff, I reached out to them with a video I made. It wasn't a video, it was a song I did, and I just had just a picture. It was no real video. And he was like, this is someone who's famous, and I'm not going to say who they are, but they were like, hey, that's awesome. This is a really good cover you did, but you should put a video to it. And I was like, I don't have a camera. And they're like, do you have a phone? I was like, yeah. He's like, just do your phone. He's like, that's good enough. And I started doing my phone, and I was like, wow, yeah, that's a good point. And that's pretty cool. I stand by it now. Actually, I'll tell you who it is. It doesn't matter. It was Cole Rowland. But
I don't know who that is.
But if you're a musician, you know who he is. And back when I started, back when I was, really into him back then, like he wasn't as big. I mean, he was kind of big, but not like what he is now. So he actually responded to me. So
what band is he in, or who?
He's not. He's his own thing. He's an instrumental guitar player.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool. Anyways, I didn't need to know. Can you hear my kids playing music? Is that coming through?
Barely. A little bit.
I don't want to get in trouble with like getting this pulled down off YouTube or anything.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, you can kind of hear something going on, but you can't tell what it is. So
sorry, pandemic, kids home, playing music videos. So
you know what? This podcast is ruined. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm done. Yeah. Throw the towel in. I'm done.
Yeah. Man, that's funny. So as far as like, is there anything that you gravitate towards? Like as far as like doing photography, like what's your favorite style, or
I love being experimental. I like to do all kinds of weird shit. If you go on my Instagram, it's probably not a great portfolio, honestly, because there's so many weird shit. But one of my favorite, I kind of get pulled towards narrative stuff on there too. I like fake tableaus, or they're called tableaus. It's like basically you put people in certain you kind of create the whole image from start to finish to tell a story. And I think it's man, you put me on the spot and then I always blank on names. I can't think of his name. There's a really famous tableau photographer that I absolutely love. I can't even think of his name at the
You know
moment.
what's funny is I think you were telling me about him last night
Yeah, I
when we were
can't remember his
talking.
name. Yeah, Gregory something, but he's great. So I'm pulled towards narrative stuff more than anything. I like telling a story with images, and it's usually dark and like Americana. I really love like old vintage Americana type shit. And yeah, I think in all aspects, like I've had some success with video and writing, and it's always in nonfiction. It's usually the stuff about real things, like the video about my dad or an essay I wrote. Those tend to get more traction with people. But honestly, what I'm drawn to is writing like horror. I love horror and writing stuff like that. So across the board, it's pretty much narrative type work. That's what I love. But
I see. That's
yeah.
awesome. You know, actually, one of the coolest things I think you've ever done, like, well, I don't want to say that because you've done a lot of awesome stuff, but one of my,
Oh, thanks, man.
yeah, hey, no
No.
problem.
Keep talking.
No.
Just go ahead.
One of my, what, God, one of my favorite things you've done though, personally, because I think it's just sick, is that you did a narrative of like this like little horror short of photos with Trevor and everyone, and then
You
you
want me to
put
get it?
yes, get it because it's so sick.
I'll be right back. You might have to fill some dead air.
Okay, I'll just explain what it is. So basically, he created a what are those viewfinders from like when you're kids and you look in it and it has a little wheel and you click it and it spins. So he did a narrative story like that through a viewfinder, and his idea was to get all these the viewfinder wheels and go around to like these old flea markets and just slip his little viewfinder wheel into old viewfinders you'd find people are trying to sell at like flea markets and stuff. It was really sick.
It's gonna be backwards.
Oh,
Everything I
okay.
share is gonna be
No,
backwards.
no, it's forwards. You can see it
Oh, is it?
as siblings,
Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
hey, I actually explained what the viewfinder wheel was. I didn't explain what this is. This is like,
Oh,
so
this
this
is
is,
the
yeah.
original 10 image series that I did called Siblings. And yeah, I originally wanted to put it on a viewfinder, but they only offer like 4 or 8 images or something. So I'd have to cut 2 out, and I don't want to do that.
You still did it
So I don't
though.
know that I'll ever made one, but it doesn't tell the whole story, so I don't really like it. This is the proper way for this, anyways.
The viewfinder was
Well,
sick
yeah.
though.
So the first image is this tableau I made of my of the setup of the. Can you see it?
Yeah, we'll put it like maybe if you have a link to it too, I can put a link.
Okay. Well, I won't show the whole thing. I'm just going to show the idea, but it tells, a story across 10 image. I don't know if that's better or worse.
It's a little better.
So, but it was all shot on black and white film that I developed myself and then put into this, this series of images.
That's an amazing shot.
And I costumed it. I got all the props and everything myself. I went and picked them all out. I had a friend who owned like a vintage store, and I just went through and picked all of the pieces that spoke to me or meant something to me or I thought would look really awesome. And then just, told a story. This one looks like it's out of like Halloween or something.
Do you want to explain what the story is? Because it's it's a little hard to see on this end a little bit.
I'll share the link. I don't like explaining it because, it's kind of self-explanatory, but I don't like to be like, oh, it means this because I don't know. Just let people figure it out, I guess. That sounds pretentious and shitty, but.
No, I don't think so. I like it. I
Cool.
still think that's sick. The viewfinder thing that you got to do because the viewfinder is so freaking cool. But I didn't realize that you had to cut out 2 images on it.
Yeah, well, and so the intention is to eventually someday do that project with a whole different set of images, like some other project where I can utilize the fact that there's only 8 different 6. I don't remember what it was, but it was a lot. I had to cut several images out.
When you first did it, like when you first made that story, you probably didn't know that there was only that many on a viewfinder, right?
No. And well, it never was originally going to be on a viewfinder. It was just going to be a 10 image series like this it was also a project for school. And I thought of the viewfinder afterwards, and then I started doing research, and I got a couple. I even, like you said, I had a couple made, and I'd already found out at that time that there was only 6 or 8. I can't remember how many, but there was only 6 or 8 images you could put on one.
Yeah.
I was like, well, fuck, I don't want to cut images out of this story because it's told with 8. And if I do, and I tried it, I made like 2 versions of it with only 8 images. And it just doesn't work the same. You need that build up, that tension build of the 10. That's just how I made it. So, but in the future, I want to do another project using the viewfinder. I don't know how much you told, but I didn't necessarily want to tell the whole thing because I don't want someone to take it.
I told the whole thing.
Did you tell the whole thing?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, that's all right.
We can cut it.
That's fine.
I'll send you the video. You can cut it.
It's probably too stupid. People probably won't steal it. It's like, who's gonna make viewfinders and go slip them into antique stores? It's so weird.
No, I think it's sick. But also, when I post this video, depending on when people see it, they'll see that you had the original idea. So
yeah, I'm not.
It'll be date stamped in history, bro.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Look, you also did the viewfinder with Derek and Chelsea's wedding photos, and that's pretty awesome.
I've done it for different things. If people want that, I can offer that service. I mean, it's a little expensive, but yeah, I do that. I've done several photography. I've done boudoir sets where the whole set is on a viewfinder. And I thought people thought it would think, but it was pretty popular. People dug it. So
it's really cool because I remember when you first told me the idea about it, I was like, that is such an awesome idea. You have it.
I can see the viewfinder right here.
I knew it. I knew it was on the freaking bookshelf, but it was the one of their wedding. All right, so here is his viewfinder. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, yeah, that's the view. People know what a viewfinder is, but there's no way you're gonna be able to see this, I don't think. But we can try. Let's see.
You can't.
Oh!
You can kind of see it come up. Yeah, right there.
There it is.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Well, yeah, it's Chelsea and Derek's wedding on a viewfinder. I lost it.
Come up.
This is the worst podcast ever.
No, it ain't. This is great.
But you can see.
It looks amazing in person, though.
Yeah, I mean, this is ridiculous. It's not intended for Zoom consumption. So
what? Are you sure?
Yeah. But no, yeah, that's one of the cooler things that I've done. People seem to dig that one. When I show people that, they're like, "This is fucking awesome. Why don't people do this?" I was like, I think they do, but yeah, I dig it. And then I came up with that idea of like making a story out of them and then hiding them in different antique stores so that people will find them. And Amber, she just doesn't get when I come up with weird shit like that. She's like, I don't get it. And then she goes, how many antique stores have viewfinders? So now it's a thing. Every time I've been into an antique store, I always find them.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
That's because, okay, so that's a big thing in our family, which I don't even know how that started, dude. Like all three of us, I don't know how it started, but we all are super into going to flea markets. Mm-hmm. And just because you can find stuff and it's just fun. But when you said that about the viewfinders, it's like, dude, I see them all the fucking time.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, they're
all
everywhere.
The time. Yeah.
Are all the wheels interchangeable?
With me. Oh yeah, I mean they're just little cogs with images on it.
That's so cool.
I mean, I guess I could tell you right now how many they have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It only has 5 images on it. Doesn't even have 5. It's 5.
So that's literally half of the story of siblings that you would have to cut out.
I think so. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can't count. There's 7.
Oh,
there's 7. Yeah.
It's like 5 times 3. Carry the parabola divided by pi.
Yeah. That's why I do artsy stuff, because I am terrible at math.
Are you really, dude? I was always good at math.
Oh, I'm the worst at math. I'm not good at it.
Really?
At all. No. But as you know, we have a friend who is a math teacher, and I said that to him, and he goes, "People who aren't good at math just didn't have a good teacher." So
really, we have a friend that's a math. Oh, duh. It's Steven.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could plug Steven. He was my first guest on here.
I know. I don't like saying names just in case. I don't know if people like it or not.
He talked about
So,
being a math teacher on here when he was on here.
yeah.
So, but
Yep.
yeah, that's
So
funny. I was
pretty
like,
sure he's the
math
one that said
too.
that to me. I don't know who else would have said that to me, but yeah, he gets a little upset when people say they're not good at math because it's probably just a failure in teaching.
Dude, I think that's with almost anything, really.
Yeah. Or
You could,
yeah.
for the most part, you can do anything. Okay, for instance, I've always been really good at science, and I had chemistry, and I had taken chemistry in like high school and stuff, and I did fine. But this guy, and like when I went to college, dude, he was such a bad teacher. Like I left every class not understanding what was going on. I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
And I'm not a student that doesn't ask questions. I was like asking, I'm like, I don't, I'd ask questions, but I ended up getting a C in that class because I just couldn't grasp how he taught. Like I was like, I don't this, but
Well, I had a teacher like that, and I had a couple of pretty bad math teachers growing up. But yeah, I had one in high school where lovely lady. I'm not going to say her name. She was a great person, bad teacher. She just didn't know how to connect with her students, I don't think. And she would just write everything on an overhead projector, and it would just be copied out of the book. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're trying to teach me here. Like, I can read this in the book too, but it doesn't make any goddamn sense to me.
right.
Can you explain it to me? And I did the worst I've ever done in any class was that class.
Dude, I think there's something to that though. Like there comes a point where like teachers, like I know who you're talking about, and when they've been doing it for so long, and like some teachers love it, but I feel like some check out, like hardcore check out, and then they don't think about the fact that like that affects us. Like
yeah, well, and the fact that you got a young person, like I think about this sometimes. You have a young person that might not understand it, but also maybe you're teaching it a way that really sucks the enjoyment that could be found in it out of it, and you're ruining an entire room of people who one of them might have really loved math if they had a good teacher.
Yeah.
So, oh, my cords are in the way.
It's very true. I was reading that book, David and Goliath, the one that we've been reading, and they said in it, like, everyone has this misconception basically that smaller classes are better. It's actually not true. It's like it's somewhere in the middle is the best. You want it kind of big, but not too big, and
enough that stimulates conversation where people don't shut down. But then, not too small because it's same thing. Yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah, and it's true because I remember like where we came from. I graduated with 19 kids or something like that, and it's like there would be times where we had classes where it's so small. It's like, everyone, but you also don't want to speak up when they ask questions because you're like, well, it's like everyone, it's way more intimate. So you're like, I don't want to say anything. Like, whereas if you're in a little bit bigger of a group, it's like someone might say something first, and then you're like, okay, I'll say something or whatever.
Yeah. It stimulates conversation. But then, some of the more frustrating classes I've had are the really big ones, the massive classes, because you don't have that connection with the teacher, and there's so many people that like you don't feel comfortable speaking, and it's just it's not a good learning experience, at least not for me. So
it's somewhere in the middle that is where it's the best. But
I think if I remember correctly, it was like 24 to 36 or something, somewhere in there was like a good sweet spot for the amount of people. I think it's been a couple years since I read that book, so I'm not positive.
I absolutely hated lecture halls when we had like that's what you're talking about, like because I mean there's no way that they can sit down and like help you one-on-one with the way you think, because that's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem with teaching is everyone thinks differently, and it like those big lecture halls, dude, I would just have the hardest time with. I mean, I still got decent grades, but like those were always the ones that I actually had to go home and study, and like it sucked.
I don't learn well in those either. Like I even like history. I love history, but the big classes I've had in it, when it comes to history, like I zone out, man. I just don't do well in them.
Yeah. Do you know what's fun? Well, I had a history class, like while I was going to school, I had his history class, and I remember like my first day, and the teacher was like, and this is at one of the local colleges here, but my first day, the teacher says to everyone, "This class is gonna be hard. If you don't try, you will fail." And she like goes on about like, and I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna fucking blow." Like I was like, "This is gonna suck," but it ended up being like super easy, and like I enjoyed it a lot. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. She just was like, like, I don't play no shit. And then it was
I
fine.
think it's probably one of those things where she's setting a groundwork for like, this is what you better expect, but then they're not going to be that difficult, but they want you to think it's going to be that difficult, so you'll pay attention
Yeah.
or like take it seriously.
Yeah. And it worked. I mean, people were like,
Mm-hmm.
but I ended up loving the class. I thought for sure that first day I was like, this is going to fucking suck.
Yeah, yeah. I've had some like that.
And Oliver, dude, I think the best classes I've ever had are like the psychology classes. Those are so interesting.
For me, it always depends on the teacher. I swear to God, I've had some really bad teachers, but the teachers that I have or have had that have had massive impacts on me have like changed my life. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's so important to have a good teacher, someone who loves what they do. Dude, I stopped doing film studies because I didn't like the professors. Like I felt like all of them hated being there. All of them. I didn't have a single good experience. One teacher, and he wasn't even a lecturing teacher. He was like a teacher we had for a half of the class was split up into two parts. There was one that was all lecture, and that was one professor. And then the other teacher did the in-class portion where we're editing our videos. He was amazing. The teacher who was teaching the actual class was horrific. And my experience was it just felt like nobody wanted to actually be teachers, that they had settled and they really wanted to be in Hollywood making films. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Whether that's the truth, I'm sure there are some amazing film studies and film teachers, but in my experience, it was horrendous.
Dude, I think that goes with any kind of fine art. It's usually like if you're going to be a teacher and like one of those, just in general, like that,
Mm,
you need to be a teacher because you want to be a teacher, not because,
yeah.
oh, I failed at what I wanted to really do, so I'm going to be a teacher, because you're affecting all your students. Because I had some like that too, that were like music teachers that clearly were only a teacher because they didn't follow what they really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And dude, made the class miserable. You know what I mean? And it's awful. But then I had some, like I had a guitar teacher that was one of the coolest guys I ever met in my life, and he's passed now. But I took
Mm.
every single one of his guitar classes, and every day I'd show up, he would just go, "Hey, you know what, man? You're the poster child for rock and roll, baby." That's what he'd say. That's what he'd say,
Yeah.
and he'd be like, "Hey,
Uh,
you're a cool cat." You know that? Like
that's
he's
funny.
just you loved going because he loved what he did, and like that makes a huge difference.
It
Like
really does.
yeah, you're impacting people who are there to learn by,
Yeah.
I think if I'm paying for a class, you better fucking give me what I paid for. Like, not make this miserable. Like I'm here to learn and I'm paying for that. Like,
Yeah.
you better enjoy what you do to an extent and not take all your frustration out on us, because it's just not fair. Like,
No. And I don't think there's a problem with like having aspirations for more as a teacher, but like
right.
if it's going to affect the way how you're teaching, then just don't do it. Maybe. I don't know.
That's
I
yeah.
understand like life is more difficult than that. It's not as clear cut, and maybe they think they're doing a good job and no one's ever just told them like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you're kind of making this miserable for everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what their situation is. So I don't want to act like I do, but just in my experience, yeah, the worst experiences I've had were teachers who just were checked out.
Dude, it's the worst. And I had some great teachers as well, and I loved those classes, and those people have stuck with me, and like several of them are just more like friends to me now. And
Mm-hmm.
but the ones that were so bad that like they're like, okay, I'm not giving you any wiggle room on anything, and this is going to be this hard and all this stuff. It's like I'm here to learn something. I'm not here to, you know, freaking copy and memorize a book.
Yeah.
Teach me something. I am paying you a lot of money. Like, teach me something. Don't, make me memorize the glossary of a book or the index. Like, I don't, it's gone after I leave the class. Like,
yeah. I think the goal, I hope, for like good teachers is to give you the tools to be able to think a certain way, or like how to assess a certain thing, or to have the ability to assess a certain thing. Like I said, I'm in a history class this semester that's similar situation. Like, she started the semester with like, this is going to be difficult, and like immediately I was like, oh my god, this is going to be one of these. You're going to call me doctor, you're going to do this and this, and I was just like, oh shit, she's pretty hardcore. I love her class. I think she's an amazing teacher. And during this whole pandemic, everything moved online. It wasn't an online class, it was an in-person class. And I had completely forgotten about one of the projects that we were supposed to. It was like it just slipped my mind. I have no excuse other than the fact that it just slipped my mind. And I had to email her, and I didn't want to. And I was like, I know if there's nothing we can do, because you're very strict on guidelines and stuff. If there's nothing we can do, then that I completely understand. But I had to reach out to you and let you know that I just completely dropped the ball. Is there anything I can do? And she completely like, yeah, man, just whatever you can turn in by Sunday, I'll grade with no penalty. She's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's understanding of the times and everything too.
Yeah,
dude, it's just that's what you need. That's the kind of that's how it should be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I get heated.
Case by case. I'm sure some people really take advantage of that kind of thing. So
that's true, but I get heated with with school stuff a little bit. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think there's any clear cut right answer or wrong answer, but just being like so stuck in your ways and not understanding.
Yeah.
Dude, the biggest pet peeve for me, and I'm sure you're the same way, being in fine arts and stuff like that, is, for instance, I had a teacher that, it was a songwriting class, and he didn't understand like the kind of music I play and all this stuff. And like when I would come in with like a song written, he'd be like, he would grade me differently because it wasn't like what he was used to. And I'm like, dude, just because you don't understand, like, it's not your form of art, like it's not your thing, does not mean it's not good, or it's like not
valid.
Not valid. Yeah. It's like what I'm doing, might be different, but like, that's one of the biggest things that always drove me nuts, was like, yeah, I don't understand your art, so it's not valid to me. It's like, that's bullshit, dude. Bullshit.
It's never been that bad, but I do get a little talked down to, because like I tend to write horror stories, and I feel like horror gets it's kind of like horror and comedy. I think they both get like bad raps. No one takes it seriously. Like, we all enjoy it. I'm sure there's a horror movie. Almost everyone probably has at least one horror movie, even if it's like a PG movie, a scary movie that they enjoy. There's probably a comedy you enjoy, but it, like, for whatever reason, it's never considered like legitimate literature or anything like that. So like, my stories always get graded with a little bit of like, oh, it's definitely your kind of story. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah. You're
But it's sort of similar. Ryan LaBee story, if you know.
I don't get that whole horror thing. I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. I just enjoy it. I could write about, oh, my sister has cancer, but I just don't. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't appeal to me. My mind doesn't go there, I guess.
Right. Well, man, you got any cool stuff you want to plug? Anything coming up, or any kind of services you want to offer to people? Like,
hey,
what?
That was dirty. This is a family-friendly podcast. That's a dumb name. You got to learn or lose that.
The vodcast. I didn't come. I don't even think I came up with that. I just said
kidding. I'm just like bugging you because you're like, yeah, fuck it. You know what, Ryan? I got something to show you. It's Max.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm just done with this, but
no, I don't. I mean, you can just follow me on all my social media shit, and there's stuff on there if you want. There it is. If you hold on, bring it down just a little bit. No, like put his mouth where the mic is. Make it look like he's come down. Oh, he lost his face. I was trying to make it look like he was doing an interview, but I don't think it's gonna work. Oh my god. If you had any fans, they're gone now.
Yeah, probably.
No, I'm kidding. How metal is this? No.
Look at my dog with his squishy lips.
You gotta write a song about that. He's got a mouth.
And the lips are squishy.
Yeah, I'd buy that. I'd listen.
Oh man. That's $1 million album right there.
Yeah. No, but you can follow all my social deets, and there's stuff on there.
If anyone's wanting to reach out to you to book you or anything like that, which one would you recommend reaching out to you with? Because which one would you answer first? Probably
Instagram, and you can also find my art page on Facebook. I'm pretty responsive on there. It's just my name, Ryan Thomas LaBee, and you'll find it.
So is that LaBee or is that LaBee?
It's LaBee.
Man. All right.
Yeah.
The old LaBee.
Yeah. That name. Oh my. That name's got given me some ridicule over the years. LaBee, LaBeer, Labia, all kinds of shit.
Dude, it's like dude, I don't understand. How hard is it to read? It's LA capital B E LaBee. And the same thing with our band name Lararium. It's like just
that one fucks me up a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I say it wrong all the time.
But you know how to say it.
Lararium, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, I've said it wrong multiple times, and you're like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm not being funny. I fuck it up."
I just can't stand that people come up to me. They're like, "Isn't it? It's like librarian or something." I'm like, "Are you stupid?"
Shit. No,
yeah, we've had that. We've had people say that several times, and I'm like, I know you're like trying to be funny or whatever, but like,
do you remember that thing you do, that movie with Tom Hanks with the band? They're the Wonders, but they spell it with an O-N-E, so it looks like the Oneaters. And they keep getting called the Oneaters because it's the Wonders.
No,
it's spelled Wonders. It looks like Oneaters.
No, I've never seen that.
Yeah, check that out. If you get nothing else from this podcast, check your local library for that thing you do.
That's right. That's right. Cool.
All right, man.
Peace out.